Have you ever wondered why pride comes before a fall? In the ancient wisdom of India, countless stories warn us about the dangers of overconfidence, but perhaps none quite as memorable as this tale from the Panchatantra about a jackal who thought he was invincible. Long ago, in a dense forest where wisdom whispered through ancient trees, there lived a clever jackal named Chandarava. Unlike his fellow jackals who were content with their simple lives, Chandarava believed he was destined for greatness. His keen wit had helped him survive many dangerous situations, and with each success, his pride grew larger than the last. The forest where Chandarava lived was home to many creatures: majestic tigers, wise elephants, fierce lions, and countless other beings who lived in harmony with nature's laws. Each animal knew its place in the grand dance of life, except for our friend Chandarava, who dreamed of ruling over them all. One day, while prowling through his territory, Chandarava discovered an abandoned palace garden. Time had transformed this once royal space into a wild haven, where fruit trees grew untamed and crystal-clear pools reflected the sky. In these pools, Chandarava saw his reflection and became convinced that his destiny was to become king of the forest. His fur, tinted blue from the indigo plants he had rolled in while exploring the garden, gave him an unusual appearance. Looking at his reflection, Chandarava hatched a clever plan. He would use his unique appearance to convince the forest dwellers that he was no ordinary jackal, but a divine being sent by the gods themselves to rule over them. Climbing atop the highest rock in the garden, Chandarava let out a call unlike any the forest had ever heard, a mixture of a jackal's cry and his attempt at a lion's roar. The strange sound echoed through the forest, drawing curious animals from every direction. They gathered around the blue-tinted jackal, wondering what manner of creature had arrived in their midst. With practiced grace, Chandarava addressed the assembled animals. "Dear forest dwellers," he proclaimed, "I have been sent by Lord Indra himself to be your king. Notice my divine blue color, proof of my celestial origin. Under my rule, this forest will know peace and prosperity unlike ever before." The animals, impressed by his unusual appearance and confident manner, began to whisper among themselves. Many were convinced by his grand claims. After all, they had never seen a blue jackal before. Perhaps he truly was a divine messenger. Even the mighty tigers and lions, typically skeptical of such claims, were swayed by Chandarava's commanding presence and eloquent speech. And so began Chandarava's reign as king of the forest. He appointed lions and tigers as his ministers, bears as palace guards, and elephants as his royal carriers. Every day, the animals would bring him the choicest foods and treat him with the utmost respect. Chandarava lived in luxury, forgetting his humble origins as he became more and more convinced of his own magnificence. But fate has a way of humbling those who rise too high on the wings of deception. One evening, as Chandarava sat upon his throne of stones, he heard a familiar sound in the distance, the howling of a pack of jackals. Something stirred deep within him, and primal urge he couldn't resist. Before he could stop himself, Chandarava lifted his head and responded with the natural cry of his species, a long, wavering howl that revealed his true identity to all. The forest fell silent as the truth dawned upon every animal present. The bears, tigers, and lions exchanged knowing looks, their eyes narrowing with anger at having been deceived. The spell was broken. No longer did they see a divine ruler before them, but a common jackal who had dared to rise above his station through trickery. The very animals who had once served him now turned against him, their respect transformed into fury at his deception. Chandarava fled into the night, pursued by the angry creatures he had fooled. His blue color, now fading from the rains, could no longer protect him. He ran until his legs could carry him no further, finally seeking refuge in a forgotten corner of the forest, far from his former kingdom. Alone in his exile, Chandarava learned the harsh wisdom that the Panchatantra teaches us, that true greatness comes not from pretense or pride, but from accepting who we are and living with honesty and humility. His tale reminds us that while cleverness might win temporary success, truth ultimately prevails. This ancient story speaks to us even today, warning against the dangers of excessive pride and the foolishness of pretending to be something we're not. It teaches us that genuine respect cannot be gained through deception, and that our true nature will always reveal itself in the end. In the grand tradition of the Panchatantra, this tale carries layers of wisdom. It shows us how pride can blind us to our limitations, how deception, though initially successful, carries the seeds of its own destruction, and how the universe has a way of restoring natural balance. Remember Chandarava's story when you're tempted to present yourself as something you're not, or when pride begins to cloud your judgment. For in the end, it's better to be an honest jackal than a false king, better to live in truth than rule through lies.